Hi, everyone. Welcome to the California Placement Association, the Connecting Tomorrow's Leaders monthly webinars. Today, we have the honor to have Greg Friedman as well as Luis Sobrevilla here to present on what is our presentation today?
Today is interviews. We're going to be talking about interviewing and then some resources like what we use as an interview resource.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I wanted to share, before we get started, a couple of the board members that are part of the California Placement Association. I am Rosalinda Rivas, the president for CPA. Happy and honored to serve all of you. I also see a couple of board members here. So Greg, if you could introduce yourself and then where you're from.
Well, I'm going to introduce myself again in a moment, but I'm Greg Friedman. I'm from Merced, California, Merced County Office of Education. Up here I am. So I'm a CPA board member. I'm the co-educational representative of the North.
Fantastic. Luis, do you want to introduce yourself?
I was going to say we'll kill two birds with one stone since we're already going to put this in there anyway. So my name is Luis Sobrevilla. I also work with Merced County Office of Education. I get the pleasure of working with our adult programs, our adult schools, and our CTE programs. And I also have been a CPA board member, at least it seems like 2, 3, 4 years. I'm not sure, 3 years, maybe around there. And I'm a co-educational representative with Greg here in the North.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Kimberly, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Kimberly Carlson from LA County Office of Education, and we're central, right?
That is correct.
So I do work with adult learners and adults seeking to get back to work, and work with short-term trainings, helping youth and adults find short-term trainings in to transfer into new careers.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I see Denise.
You're on mute, Denise.
Oh, she's on mute.
I'm on mute, of course. I'm Denise Crawford, homesick today, but still joining in. I'm the program manager of the Workability program at Bakersfield College, and we help students with disabilities and alumni find employment. I'm a past president of the California Placement Association. So welcome, everybody.
Fantastic. And let's see, do I see anybody else? I do see Valerie Harris. I'm wondering if Valerie Harris is from Laco, which is another board member, colleague of Kimberly. Is that you, Valerie, or are you a different Valerie? Just kind of wondering.
Rosalinda, I was just ready to send you a little cheery note in chat. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
it's great to see you. I used to work with Valerie a long time ago.
Yes,
Great to see you. And it's fantastic to see everybody else that's here today. So I just want to welcome you on behalf of the California Placement Association. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Greg and Luis.
Perfect. You know what? Before we start, Greg, I'm going to make sure one thing I didn't do when I shared was add the volume or sound. So let me do that really quick. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, we don't have to go through introductions because we already got that part done. So we'll get into the meat and potatoes here. So we're going to discuss our interviewing tips, just kind of initial thing, just in general. It's really more focusing on the resources and the things that we use in our world here in Merced County, but I know Big Interview is something that's used within a lot of different community colleges and four-year colleges. So we want to kind of talk a little bit more about Big Interview. So that's kind of a role. Greg?
Yeah, so I do want to throw in here real fast. Chat, hopefully we'll have time to talk about the resources you guys use to get people ready for interviews. And this is not a sales pitch. Neither one of us work for Big Interview. It's what we use here. We love it. We find it a super great resource, and we'll tell you why. But I want to make sure that's, we're not pushing anything. We're sharing resources today, and this is our big one that we use.
You feel like a YouTube star already, where you're getting like product and it's being sent to you, and we have to like sell it. No, Greg is right that we just enjoy. We've had, or I know I've utilized Big Interview since I started in adult ed world 4 years ago. So it's something that the program has grown a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more, just all the cool features of it. And we'll actually share a screen so you guys kind of get an idea. But
we'd love to hear how you're doing. Interviews is, we'll talk about, mock interviews, this and that, but how do you teach interviewing? So really, we'll start off with the value of a proper interview education. When we get to that, when our students, clients get to that interview stage, they're on an equal playing field. They have the same qualifications as everybody else. Most likely they made it past the pre-screen process. So it's a pretty level. So it's one thing we tell our students, but really it's not the most qualified. The most qualified candidate doesn't always get the job. A lot of times it's the people skills. It's those soft skills that really help. Luis may have one more degree than me, or an extra certificate. I've got something different, but we're still basically the same. So it's really on selling yourself. If you can't articulate, you don't really know what's important to you and your self-assessments, then you're going to have trouble in the interview process.
Yeah. And I think being a part of a panel where we're, hiring, if you've been fortunate, I know Greg worked in the restaurant industry for 20 plus years, has hired tons and tons of people. So he's seen it from that world. I've seen it from the MCOE side as well. And yeah, I can look at someone's resume. Like Greg said, once you reach the interview process, you are kind of on a level playing field. One thing or two may stand out, but the reality is how we interact with that applicant, how their interviewing skills are, how they're communicating, talking about giving examples, giving stories. That's really what engages us really quick. We usually know a candidate, within a couple of minutes, it's like, ooh, this is somebody that we're really interested in. Like, I want to hear more, versus that person that we've interviewed that is like you're pulling teeth to get more information from them. And so that's why interviewing is so important. Having those solid interviewing skills is not something just for an interview, but it's so important to have even throughout our careers. This is not our last job, right? We're hopefully advancing and moving into different realms, and even for promotion or whatever it may be, working with our students, we want to be able to have those solid interviewing skills, giving examples and tell these, kind of star stories. And so that's kind of where we want to really highlight the importance. You can have the technical ability and you can have everything great in the experiences, but if you're not really articulating yourself in the interview process, then you're going to kind of get missed out.
Yeah. And I think I know this for me, when I'm going for an interview, I always feel like I'm being like interviewed, but it really is a conversation. It's that two-way street. Obviously, they want to make sure I'm going to be a good fit with their team and their company, but I need to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for me, that my skills, interests, personality are going to match up with the company. And they're going to be happy with this job. One of those questions, what does that typical day, look like, or what are some of my job responsibilities for this position? I want to make sure that's something I enjoy doing, because if I don't like the position, I'm not going to like the company. I'm not going to stay around and start this whole process over again.
And that's why it's so important to really work with our students to make them comfortable and understand that it is a conversation. It's a lot easier said than done. I think a lot of our students, especially in the adult ed world, feel like they have this like shining light on them, and they freeze up and they don't know what to say. And a lot of it is because of the prep work, the researching and the different things that they're not doing to get into this, kind of mentality, this interview mentality. So just a really quick, we wanted to watch this short video. It's humorous, kind of sets the tone, and maybe some of the students we may get across and why interviewing skills are so important. So we're going to watch this really quick. I swear my internet's working. But.
Amy, it says you are trained in technology. That's very good. Are you adept at Excel?
No.
PowerPoint?
No.
Publisher?
Not really.
Exactly in what area of technology are you proficient?
Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Twitter, the big ones.
I'm surprised you didn't say Facebook.
That's for old people, like my parents. That's funny.
Well, Amy, when you're working for me, you have to have those kind of research skills, because I'll send you things for you to comb through and get the answers and send them to me. So for that, you got to be really good at technology.
For stuff like that, no problem. I'll just ask Siri.
You'll just ask Siri?
Siri, tell me this, Siri, find me that. We're all good at getting you the answers.
Tell Siri, I want you ready to go at 8 sharp each and every morning.
I don't understand.
What don't you understand?
What you just said.
You don't understand be ready to go?
No. You said 8, right?
Yes.
8 like in the morning 8?
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah. That kind of doesn't work for me. Who gets up at 8?
I do.
I Skype with my French boyfriend in Paris until like 3 in the morning. I don't even get to Starbucks until like 10, where I order my grande chai tea latte, 3 pumps, skim milk, light water, 2% foam, extra hot, but not too hot. So if it's okay, I work best in the morning at 10:45.
Wow. Amy, I don't think we're going to be a good fit.
Why are you so negative? I can sense your hostilities, and right now I am not feeling very safe. I've been here for over 5 minutes, and the only nice thing you have said to me was nice resume, which I typed all night for this meeting with you. You've given me no guidance, no validation, no encouragement, no supervision. Is there an HR director somewhere?
HR director?
Yes, I need to speak to someone. I may have to take off today as a mental health day.
Take today off. Amy, look at me. You don't work here.
Are you firing me?
Okay, yes.
So this is our comical video that we sometimes,
I love it.
We actually have played this even at an employer panel because it's just one of those funny things. I'm not saying hopefully our students are not like this, but I know I've heard a lot of crazier stories of how people interview. And this is really that what not to do in an interview. So we thought this was a good way to kind of kick it off in a sense.
Have we had those experiences before? Or have our clients, students ever felt like that?
Anybody kind of, I know we're quiet. It's getting lunch hour. Has anybody experienced those or seen those type or heard them through employers that we interact with where they're just kind of not prepared in an interview setting?
Yeah, I know you've experienced it, Luis. We did one year coffee with employer and people weren't prepared.
Yes,
So.
there was. Yeah, and it's kind of hard to watch when you're that fly on the wall. And our students, I was a part of a virtual event where I'm like on the side and employers interviewing one of our classes students, and he was just not prepared, had not researched the company, was pretty much saying the opposite of what you want to say, at least in a sense. He just wasn't really prepared. And the interview lasted really quickly because it's obviously the employer it's not a candidate the employer was interested in. So we'll go back to our interview prep wise of what the importance of really when we're doing this, our students need to realize that it's geared towards our employers. It's not the shining light on just us and watching what we say. It's really how we're delivering it, but we got to always do it from the perspective of the employer, right, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's a customer service position, they're automatically thinking, how is your speaking skills? Are you are you smiling? That outgoing personality? In your answers, they're looking for something. They kind of know what they want. So obviously, you're applying for a position, you're not 100% sure what that looks like. So hopefully in all your answers, you give a broad, you want specifics, but you kind of hit all the holes there, and hopefully you fill it for them.
Yeah, and I know from being on one side of the from an employer side, or at least in a hiring panel, you're usually wanting to find the right person. It's not like you want anybody to fail. You're waiting to hear. And that's what I try to tell the students that I work with. It's like they want you to be successful, even though they may look scorn because they've interviewed 8 people and they're probably hungry. There's a lot of other factors that go into technology not working on their iPad and they can't pull up your resume and all those little things. But for the most part, they're looking to fill a role. The person in HR or whoever with that company is looking to fill a role. It's just you're meeting that person in the middle. And that's really just to kind of, really making sure that we are answering these questions with the employer in mind, meaning that we're doing our research on the company. We're looking at the job description. We're analyzing the job description, looking for themes in the job, understanding our strengths, our selling points, but also understanding some of our gaps in those areas that may come up. And how do we kind of fill in those stories to say, hey, I may not have quite that experience, but I do have experience in this field that is very similar. But that's kind of the research. It's never going to go to waste, even when you're doing it to build on your resume. That information that you're doing on Starbucks is going to help you tenfold when you're in an interview and you're talking about the culture and the reason that you want to work at Starbucks.
And hopefully you've done the research before you even applied for the job, something about the company to make sure, it's the right company for you. You're not just applying for any job out there. Sometimes you need money, but hopefully you've done some research and found a company that you think will be a good fit. So half that research part's already done before you go in for the interview part. And then finally, remember that you're the pursuer at this point in the relationship. They're interviewing a ton of people and they're looking to get rid of the easy, the ones at the bottom. Let's get rid of the shave. So like, Louis said, they do want you to succeed. They really want to find somebody. They don't want to do the whole search criteria again. I know my years in restaurant management, I'd always interview anybody, no matter what time of day. If you came in at a bad time, it was definitely negative strikes for you, but employers are always looking for that star employee and you never know when they're going to come in. You don't want to blow them off, but if I can tell you're just not it, I'm going to get rid of you. It's going to be a 2-minute interview and we want to make sure they also know what questions to ask and not to ask. There's always, the end of the interview, any questions for us? You don't want to ask the wrong questions right there because it will give the wrong connotations or tones and he could easily have you eliminated as well.
And one of the things I like to tell our students obviously at this part in an interview is that they're the pursuer. So there's no leverage in a sense, meaning that you are still interviewing with other candidates. So you're not asking, hey, when do I get vacation? When do I get benefits? What's the pay? That's important. Yes. But at that point, if you have not found it in the research, it has not come up through the interview process of what they've told you at the beginning when they say, hey, this is your duties and whatever it may be. If they haven't given you that information, you're probably holding on to that until they call you and offer you the position. Once they've offered you that role, now you have leverage. Now you can say, hey, thank you so much for the phone call. I just have a few questions before I make the decision. And then you start, is this a full-time position? What is the wages? And you can have a little bit more of that discussion because you have that leverage because they've selected you. The panel or the group has selected you. So now you can talk a little bit more shop before you make that decision. But definitely not during vacation, all that kind of stuff. That's already like slap in the face. You're probably not going to get hired if you ask anything in that world.
And hopefully part of that company research, you looked on Glassdoor and someone might've told you some of that stuff already. Mm-hmm. So
true.
Excellent.
All right.
So hopefully you're still there. So we're kind of curious, what are some of the disadvantages if you do not prepare for an interview? Just hypothetical or maybe something from your own personal experience or your students' experiences.
So this is a great time to unmute and kind of get some of that info. What are some disadvantages if our students or clients or ourselves, if we do not prepare well?
Luis, this is Denise.
Hello, Denise.
I think that something I've seen over and over during the years is that a student doesn't do their homework and then they think they're a lot better than they are, like maybe they have some education towards that job, but they don't have any experience, but they kind of go in thinking I'm better than this job. I really want, the next step up. And then I've seen people pretty much say that, like, I don't really, without actually saying this, but they're basically saying, I don't want this job. I want the next job up because I'm so prepared. But what they don't get is they're not hiring for that next job up. That's not gonna excite the employer about them because the employer needs to hire somebody for that job. So, I mean, an example would be like somebody who wants to work for a bank and they apply for a teller position, which is usually the entry level job, but they don't sell themselves to the teller position because they want to be, I don't know, loan officer or something,
Mm-hmm.
So I've just seen that happen over and over where they just don't do their homework and then they don't look at the employer's needs, basically.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of times that mentality, I've seen that as well when you apply for a position, but it's not really the one you want, where you're already kind of setting yourself up for failure of attending that meeting. I try to get our students to really think and put themselves in a place of excitement. I joke with them sometimes, like if Disneyland's your happy place, that's where you're going because you want to, be engaged. You want to have your eyebrows up, your body language, your shoulders to the person interviewing you, smiling in that part of engagement, because it needs to be, that employer needs to understand, like, I want to be here. There's no other place I want to work with but for your company. We all want to be wanted. Employers the same. It's a two-way street. And if it's more, like you said, with that, they have the mentality, like, I'm too good for this role. Someone's going to read that within like 30 seconds and be like, yeah, this person's not the right fit for us.
Yeah. Cheyenne made a great point. Going off that, it's important that a candidate shows they want to be hired for this job, not a job. So match that job description, match the vision, the mission, the vision of the company, tell relevant stories, etc. Very true. You can tell when people are just like phoning it in. You have to have that excitement. Like, I'm really excited to be here. I love to work for your company versus, hey, yep, here for an interview because, I needed to, I needed money. So, or qualify for something.
I think a lot of it, I know talking with students, is the interview. You shouldn't be prepping. Like, everything that we're talking about is things that are done way in advance, that you're researching, you're prepping yourself because you're excited, really excited, because I've researched 3 different companies I want to work with. And so if I get an interview with one of them, I'm excited because that's the place I want to work. It's building a lot of this way in advance. By the time you get to the interview, you're almost excited to have that conversation. And it's really switching that within people's mentality of like, by the time they get to the interview, that's the first time they're going to look at the job. That's not the first time, right? Look at the job description. It's, it's researching it and doing all the diaper. I'm sorry, can't even get the words out. I'm mixing words in here. Digging deeper into the position, the culture, the people you're going to work with. Like Greg had mentioned earlier, even finishing up with those questions at the end, showing that engagement. Like, what is a candidate that you're, what are the qualities in a candidate that you're looking for? What are some of the activities that you guys are doing once this person starts a position? Like, you're already forecasting, like, what is it that I can do to help your organization out? And that's where you want to end an interview. And if they tell you something that's interesting, you may also piggyback off of that, and it gives you that last opportunity at the end to kind of close the deal.
Yeah. And I think we've kind of hinted around is you really want to start those interviewing practices months in advance. Everyone's always nervous for an interview. It's just natural, you're being judged in a way, but it's not something you practice your interview 2 days before. They call you, hey, can you come in next week? That's not when you work on your interview. Something you start now. And then when you say, hey, can you come in next week? That's when you really fine tune it for the specific job description.
Yep. So here's some common mistakes, and we kind of discussed them. So it's really not doing the research. It's not practicing, not being focused, because sometimes we don't know what to focus on. And that's why the importance of a solid education and interviewing is vital into being successful. And the last one's not being concise. So obviously either the rambling on or not really knowing what the employer is looking for because you never read the job description. So you don't know those details and the themes that they're looking for. So you're kind of just trying to shoot things out there until something sticks. So these are obviously the common mistakes. And what are some of the solutions, Greg? What is it that we use?
So we use Big Interview. It's a paid for platform. We subscribe for it and we love it. And we want to show you what we why show you through why we love it so much. We're not shilling it, we're offering as a resource, but I'd love, seriously, in the chat, start listing how you do. We all probably do mock interviews, but what else do you use? And this is kind of our way. Mock interviews take time. It takes your time. I'm sorry, I sort of hate mock interviews in a way, because it's like, they're like, hey, Greg, can you come mock interview this person? Sure. Well, what kind of job is it? Like, I came from the hospitality industry. I can definitely mock interview for those type of jobs. But if you want me for a construction or a truck driving, I really don't know the questions to ask. And it makes it hard to have an authentic mock interview for that person and let it be of quality for my client or student. So Big Interview takes care of that for me. Yeah, but you want to show?
I was trying to play a video, and I apologize if it.
Are you nervous about your next interview? It can be really tough to sell yourself and stand out, especially with so many tough questions to answer. That's why we developed Big Interview, a proven system for better interview prep. Big Interview was developed by top interview expert Pamela Skillings. She's helped thousands of clients ace their interviews and land their dream jobs. Now you can learn proven and tested ways to truly impress hiring managers. Pamela will teach you how to be an amazing candidate and coach you through exercises that have helped thousands of her clients. She'll help you anticipate tough questions, prepare your sales pitch, and show up confident and ready. And most importantly, Coach Pam will guide you through practicing with Big Interview's cutting-edge mock interview tool. Don't waste your next career opportunity. It's hard enough to get an interview. Try the Big Interview system today, and you'll be ready to land your dream job.
So I use Big Interview with all my students. I sign them all up. I did a summer program with high school students, and you can tell the students that go through it and the ones that don't. I had them go through it, and then I mock interviewed them at the end as part of their final grade, and we're using it in our college class. Frank says, I teach many interview a technique called EAR. So what does EAR stand for, Frank? And you can unmute yourself if you don't want to type.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I actually teach, well, it depends on the applicant, but there's a technique that I teach called EAR, example, action, result. So when you're answering a question, you want to make sure you give an example, the action you've taken, and then what was the result or the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very helpful to help organize, many applicants that I've worked with in answering, many questions.
No, good point. And I think a lot of times it's easy to say, well, I'm really good at communicating or I collaborate well with others, and it's very blanketed, but I love the examples. You have to give examples or tell a behavioral story in a sense that's going to really be those predicators, like how I'm going to do in a future position. And that's why those stories or those examples stay in our minds, and we remember a candidate, an hour or two later, because we remember that example or we remember that story. Yeah. So I agree 100%.
So Big Interview, it's called Interview, but it covers so much more. I normally put my students through the fast track course. It's a little less than 2 hours. It's 16 individual videos. They are also closed captioned, and the whole transcript is there too. So they can just read it if they don't want to watch it. The Mastery video track is 50 videos. So it's much more in depth, and even they both have practice questions in there as well. The practice section is what Luis and I love. And then we can actually create assignments that we do. So we can actually make our own questions. Big Interview has a library of over 1,000 probably, Luis.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. And I was going to go back to even the fast track videos just really quickly. It's about an hour and a half worth of content. So this is obviously, and especially in today's virtual space, that these students can watch these particular targeted videos that are anywhere from 5 to kind of like 9-10 minutes in length. The fast track one, like Greg was mentioning, is something that's kind of really quick. We're prepping the next couple of weeks for interviews. Want to talk about your strengths, your weaknesses. How do you answer, those tough or even inappropriate questions? Like how do you redirect and whatnot? The mastery videos get into a deeper dive into things, and it's about 6+ hours of content. I tell my students, if they're interested in that, awesome. Especially if you're not planning to interview for a few months, watch one a day. Just to kind of start getting those, the videos and the content, understanding a lot of these things, even like the different type of interviews from a panel to a virtual to a group interview. There's so many different ways that you might be interviewed in the process. So understanding like the pros and the cons to each one. And like Greg said, there is opportunities. That's the great thing with the Big Interview platform, is that you can use your smart device, your tablet, your phone, your computer, and actually practice and get recorded. So we'll get into a little bit deeper what it looks like. And then there's assignments as an instructor that we can add and say, hey, here is like 10 questions we want you to kind of practice with, record yourself and submit it as a homework assignment. And then we can actually see how our students are progressing. On top of that, we also have a job search curriculum. So there's videos specifically for the job search, along with resumes and negotiation when it comes to salary. And then my favorite one, which is the first 90 days. So we always talk about getting our students to the finish line, getting them employed. We're excited. We, pat ourselves on the back. We're a part of this. We're cheering. But the other parts is like, what do you do to maintain that job through the first 90 days or through probation in essence? What are some of the things you should be doing strategically? The same kind of research skills that you used to get the job, or the same type of research skills you're going to want to do to understand your stakeholders and all the different things, your SWOT, your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that's what that curriculum really dives deeper into, knowing more and the people and how your manager and how do you communicate with them? What are their goals? And it goes to me, it's one of my favorite ones because it really is prepping our students on how to retain that job, which is just as important.
And that resume curriculum also has a resume builder in there, and with different templates as well. So you kind of fill in the info and builds out a couple of ones for you. Denise, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how much does this cost? And does the chancellor's office have this that we can have availability to, or did you bought it on your own?
We got it through the county office, and I want to say it was for 3,000 licenses, and it's only active licenses. So in theory, you can have 4,000 people using it, but they go by active, meaning if you had a student that hasn't used it for 6 months, still in the database, they don't count that. It's only active users. So we got the 3,000 subscription, which is way more than we need in our community. And that's kind of how it works. And I think it was around the 3,000 mark for 3 years. So you're looking about 1,000 a year for 3,000, up to 3,000 students. So not bad.
Yeah.
I know the community colleges do use it, but I don't know who's the one that's funding it.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, but you can reach out to them, and obviously they can go through all that with you. So like I said, we're not here selling it. We're just showing you why we love. But
it's a good question. Just kind of understand like what we're looking at. Let me log in here really quick.
You have another question, Denise? Or no?
Yeah, maybe they should hire you guys.
I know. We enjoy our jobs. So
well, and they're actually really good to contact with. Greg and I have met with Katie, which is our rep. So if we have any questions in regards, or there's a problem, there's a contact person that reaches out within a day. I get an email, or we've even set up meetings with her to even expand and ask some questions. So they're pretty responsive, or at least you have the rep, that is able to get you the info. But so this is just kind of the user. It's all obviously done in
this. This is a desktop. This is a free download through your iOS or Google as well. And everything is right there and works, so that your students can lay in bed at night, on their phone, passing in the car. They don't have to be stuck in front of a Chromebook or laptop. But all right, sorry, Luis.
Oh yeah, no worries. This is the fast track that we're talking about, the 16 video lessons, the mastery track. You can actually get a certificate with this as well. So it's one of those that once your students have gone through the entire fast track program, which is, like I said, about an hour and a half, it goes through the videos, even ask quizzes, in between to make sure that you're understanding. Once you've gone through that whole hour and a half and answer the questions, you can actually earn a certificate that then you can turn in for an assignment. So Greg and I do an adjunct class through Merced College that does like career prep. And this is one of the tools that we use, and they have to kind of turn in this certificate to show that they've watched the videos in a sense. And then we also do some other things when it comes to like mock interviews, and we're going to know if you've practiced or not. But these are the kind of like the videos I'm not going to play an entire video, but this is Pamela Skilling. So this is answering inappropriate questions. It's just really cool graphics. It's not like sales.
Let's talk about inappropriate questions. Unfortunately, you probably will encounter interviewers who ask questions that they shouldn't. Many interviewers are untrained or just plain awkward. The problem is that the candidate is often the one left feeling uncomfortable and wondering whether to answer the question or risk awkwardness by declining. In the worst.
So I'll stop it right there now that we're all intrigued on how to, what way we should answer. But that's kind of how these videos are. They're, like I said, they're anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes long, a lot of graphics. So they're really easy to watch.
And Denise, I know they even have, so there's the fast track and the more in-depth course, but they also have the same thing adapted for like people with disabilities as well. And it's, so yeah, there's disabilities.
Yeah, they have the interview playbooks, and they have them all broken down by different, even people changing careers, ESL, but there is ones with disabilities. So it'll have like its own playlist that they've done specifically for, overcoming nerves, but it's geared towards, people with disabilities or depending the population.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And I will go back to here. These are the different ones. We're talking about the job search curriculum. Resume, like Greg said, there is a way to actually have a tool where you can create an easy resume, especially for someone who's like, man, I need to do it really quick. You can answer the questions, and it's almost like plug and play. And then it gives you 3 different options to create one. They have written, so people who are not watching the videos, or maybe you're somewhere where you just want to kind of read the articles and you're that visual learner and like to really kind of stop and read what you're learning. They also have the written curriculum as well. But let's get to the practice part, because that is something that I think is what makes it different. They're not just the videos in the curriculum. Sometimes in workshops, we'll watch one and then we'll discuss it and we'll kind of go through role play. In our workshops that we do, we use some of these videos. But the biggest part is the practice component. Let me see if I can pull up one really quick of kind of how it looks. I won't be able to use my camera because I'm obviously on it with Zoom.
So, and they have 4 or 5 people probably that ask different questions. So you can, when we make assignments, we pull from this library. So it's not just one person asking the same person asking all the questions. It's all kinds of different people.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to go through things, but. So do you want to talk really quick about the AI feature, Greg? Because that's what it's asking.
Sure. So the great thing is, so when this comes up, hopefully you can show you, but you'll watch a video, it'll be like someone saying like, so tell me about yourself. And then there's another window, it pops up, you activate your camera and you actually get to record yourself answering this question. And then you save it. I'm going to take over share screen. So we actually paid extra this year, brand new thing. They have an AI feature. And it grades it. So in the past, I can see my students, all their answer recordings. And it's, we always have our students like, watch the question, think about it, and then record yourself. And then you record yourself a second time or third time as you get better, or you watch and you see yourself, oh, look how bad I was. But then it's like, okay, who really gives them feedback? It takes a lot of time for me to watch someone's 2 or 3 minute answers for 10 different ones. So there is an AI feature that once you record, and it takes a couple minutes to grade it, but it then gives you a grade, a gold, silver, bronze. And this is what it's for. I just did a screen capture. Your pace of your speech, your counter, can you see this, Luis? Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Your vocabulary, how many filler words you used, how many power words you used. It counts your pauses and kind of tells you like, how you're doing, your negative tone, and then a length. So how long it was. So it actually told me I might be selling myself short. So keep your things between 2 minutes. How is my volume and an authenticity score? And it does eye motion tracking on these things. So you just use your regular camera and you just calibrate it. And then the lighting, which is really important these days when you're doing those virtual Zoom ones. And then they all say like improve now, learn more. So I'm just scrolling back up here just so you can see, instead of just giving you, 5 filler words or my pace of speech, you click learn more. And then it really goes and talks about, gives you more information about why pace of speech, what's normal and what you're looking for there.
So the thing is, it really gives you the opportunity to practice. And obviously we can't do mock interviews all the time and set things up from our employer panels and getting people on from, the employer world to do a lot of, mock interviews. This is something that people can do in the comfort of their home just to practice over and over. They can submit this to anybody. They send them basically an email that has a URL link that goes to their page. And then I can interview and send it to Greg and have Greg, check my videos out, or a coach or an instructor, a family member. And then we can rate them from 1 to 5 and give them feedback. What he's talking about here, the AI actually does the grading for them and they can actually just do it within and get, just improve on their own. So when we do get them towards the end of the program or our class, and we're actually starting to do more in person, you could see the people that have actually practiced. And like Greg mentioned, he did one in the summer where you could start noticing the students that were having more thought out questions, thought out answers, because they were taking the time to put these pieces together. So it's just
Giving
another
stories.
great tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stories.
Absolutely.
It talks about like, your STAR approach, your situation, task approach, results, very similar to like what Frank was saying, giving those examples and really creating these stories that that employers are really going to be engaged with and understand and be like, oh, that's awesome. And through that story, I know that you're a go-getter, that you're responsible, that you're a problem solver, you collaborated. Like that story was really good because it had all these components to it. And that's kind of what the videos really kind of start teaching our students, that it's not just a quick answer, it's really putting these pieces together.
You want us to talk about how we plan on using it in the future?
Yes, sir.
So we're excited about this. So we can make assignments, we can pull questions that they have out of their whole practice library, but we can also record our own questions, which is really exciting. So they have those practice questions kind of broken out, medical or college entrance. I've given my daughter access to this for, internship questions type things to prepare for those interviews. But let's say, medical assisting, I want you something really specific. I can make my own interview questions that I can then give to students. But even better yet is I can go to our local employer and get their pre-screening.
Not sure. I think we lost you, Greg. Maybe it's me. Okay, no worries. We'll wait till he gets back. So what he was mentioning is we're actually going to start using the platform, and we actually had the discussion with Katie, which was our rep from Big Interview. What we want to do is record our employers asking the questions. So rather than have these people here, which are like great people to ask the questions, but we can get our actual employers locally interviewing the students, especially the ones that are finishing our CTE programs that want to get into a welding with Laird Manufacturing. We can actually have the HR person record videos asking kind of what the questions, those vetting questions. So the idea is to record Elena, ask 5-10 questions. Our students can practice actually interviewing with Elena through this virtual space. And then we can actually fast move that or have them email us their interview. I could send it to Elena, and Elena can literally look at 5 different of our students and vet them out and say, you know what, out of these 5, I'd really love to interview these 2. And it saves time. It also helps our students get comfortable with actual people that are going to be interviewing them with these HR managers. So that's another way that we want to kind of utilize this in the spring, is starting to create a database of different employers with their faces asking their questions. And instead of calling it a homework assignment, we would call it Laird Manufacturing, and that's the employer, or McLean, because they're doing our trucking. So having them basically do the questions that are very specific to what they're looking for. And it gives our students in our training programs a little bit more of an edge, because they're literally getting that information from our employers that we're kind of creating through this database. So just another way of utilizing, we're already paying for it. We might as well try to figure out another way of kind of using this platform. Is there any questions? I was really trying to get this on, but I have not done my AI, and I know there's a thing with my Mac features that wants access to my camera, and it's delaying me on my MacBook. So I apologize, but the idea is it really is on one side, it's a picture of like Stacy interviewing you, and she asks a question, tell me about a time, and whatever the question might be, or tell me a thing about your strengths. And then it goes into the right side where it's you record yourself. And then you go to the next question, she asks it, you record yourself, next question, and so on. And then at the end of it, you've just really recorded 10 questions and you can watch yourself. That's the idea that we've been talking about with the homework assignments and different things of that nature. So I will take a pause really quick and see if there's anybody that has questions on the Big Interview platform.
Yeah, so it's a great opportunity. Go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to ask a question, or if you're more comfortable putting it in the chat box, go ahead and we will monitor that and ask and read it out loud. Questions. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, right? Well, if we don't have any questions, it's just today's objective was really kind of talking about the importance of interviewing. I think a lot of us who do work with our students, especially in career centers or getting people connected to work, this is a big one. This, I know when I first started my position, I was interviewing my stakeholders and trying to get like, what do people need help on? Resume seems to be a lot easier than it was 20 years ago when you had to format everything. With templates, becomes so much easier. Now it's like how what your content you're presenting. It's become a little bit easier with resumes, but interviewing is still one of those things that you have to practice, and understanding what it is that you're really selling, and just identifying the job description and all those type of things. And that's why we've really gone through this platform, because there's so much wonderful information. They sell it a lot better than I can. I could just discuss it, but they have a really good platform that our students can be using virtually. So we kind of double dip in a sense. They can watch videos and we can discuss other things when we have our time with them in person. So we'll transition into this next one. I wanted to leave in a sense with a guide. So for those who may not get into, the Big Interview platform,
just a moment. Please, can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Frank has a question. So Frank, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and sharing your question with us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my question is, and I'm very interested in your,
question
is, hello?
Yes, go ahead. I think Greg got back in. He was just saying that he was back in, but go for it, Frank.
Yes, so I'm interested in your input on those that you work with. One of the challenges that I've ran into with many applicants is that, they do prepare and they actually do know, the company or the content, but they come across very scripted or robotic almost. And so some of the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of employers is there's a loss of connection. So how are you instilling that part of the interview process into these students to where the employers feel like there's a connection to the applicant that they're interviewing?
No, that's a great point. And this platform is really used to enhance. It's really to get that information. It's a way to practice. But that's what I love about it. We've had this conversation with interpersonal skills and doing it in a virtual space. It's very hard to connect with people and throw everything on a canvas shell and have everybody learn this information. But if you're not actually interacting with people, you're not seeing those, like you said, it's just very scripted, robotic. And that's not what it is. It's how you make people feel in the interview process. And so a lot of times I talk to our students, it's like, you want to talk to people like they're like somebody you haven't seen in 5 years, but you just saw them and you're super engaged with them. Like it comes back to human connection, because that's what you're going to remember. I can tell you all the right things, but if I say it the wrong way, you're going to remember the wrong way. And it's really kind of using this to enhance, but having those workshops where we really have more discussion to really, like you said, talking about nonverbal communication. That's a lot of our body language, right? And how we're trying to engage with our employers. And that is a hard one. There's some people that I work with our ESL population. So English is not their first language and they stay short, but their body language is super nervous. And they can be everything under the sun with their technical ability, but it is that part of it. So what are some of the things that you you've heard from employers that this is the disconnect? They telling them what they want to hear, but not the right way. What are some of the ways that you're trying to kind of combat that?
So for me personally, in some of the strategies, and I'm always interested in other strategies as well, but we really try to engage that, that interviewee or whoever we're working with to, do the fundamentals, the basics, and yes, know the content, but really practice, with another family member, a friend, so that way you can get comfortable, not just repeating information, but, talking about information. That's where I really go into examples, action, results. When you make those personal examples, you should have some of those prepared, that you don't have to follow a script, but that you're prepared with something that is genuine and to be truthful. And I think that employers connect with truthfulness and a sincerity of an applicant in a lot of ways.
Agreed. And I think you would think that with examples means that you're connected to that example. So you'll have that emotion that goes with whatever example that you're giving, right? I think part of like with the platform of recording and watching themselves, I had one student that I get, what you think is not necessarily what you see, and them watching themselves on the video was able to kind of correct some of their, almost like they had no affect on their face. Like there was just very straightforward, no smiling. And the video was able to almost give them the information, everything I saw, but now it was almost like they were seeing it. I even remember in one workshop, we talked about like YouTubers and bringing that up. And it's like, well, who are you? Like, what are those content creators that you like watching? How do they behave? Like, are they super interactive? Like you watch them for 15 minutes because they're acting a certain way on camera. Like you got, some of those are just like anything. We have to watch people that have good examples or how they do those things really well, and then start putting them into our behaviors. So I brought that up, even like, YouTube creators, the ones that are just very monotonish, that probably don't have a lot of hits, versus the people that are completely opposites, just so they can see some examples of people that are very interactive, that are engaging you within 30 seconds. And it really isn't an interview. It's almost like public speaking and talking to an audience of 300 people. Like, how are you engaging with those people within the first 15, 30 seconds? If you're not getting them engaged within that first couple of minutes, then you're already kind of losing that traction and it's very hard to get back. Mm-hmm. So these are things that we talk about a lot in our workshops, but it's on top of this tool so they can continue to practice, because that we don't have that time to do on a day-to-day in our workshops. It really isn't, here's the information, you're learning it, but now let's really talk about it in a real situation. Good question though. Good point.
Yeah.
Greg, welcome back, sir.
Sorry. Yeah. It disconnected and then it wouldn't let me leave the meeting. It said I was still there. And yeah, I tried the other computer. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I just disappeared.
We're almost wrapping up. We're going to talk about this guide. So for those who are interested in Big Interview, but might not be able to like right away jump on it and utilize it within their program, this is a really cool guide that they put together. I'm sorry, see if I can click into this really quick so we can show you. And this is a tool that anybody can use, just basically like their blog that they have, but they kind of go over different questions and how to answer them. It's just another resource that students can kind of use that they put together, that the Big Interview put together. And it kind of goes into a little deeper dive and job descriptions and all the different things that they kind of go into. Tell me about yourself, that intro, just that, who you are, that elevator pitch. It really kind of goes into that as well. So even if you don't have the videos, having at least this resource in a sense might help.
Good information. Wow. Thank you.
Probably. Yeah.
But before we end, right in our end of the transition, Greg, would you like to talk about our next webinar?
Absolutely. So hopefully you enjoyed today. Hopefully you got something out of it. This is our 5th or 6th webinar I think we've done. I know I've seen some of you on a few of them, so we appreciate that. 2 weeks from now, because we do these every 2 weeks, Jackie Kennedy Harris out of the Fresno area, she's a CPA member, is going to talk about maximizing helping clients to maximize their personal brand. So I know with COVID and the shutdown, Jackie changed careers. So it definitely maximized her own personal brand. So she's someone who will be able to speak from experience on this. So I'm looking forward to hearing her. We meet every other Wednesday at 11 o'clock for that hour right before your lunch. So we hope you join us. The event that we're going to send, you can go to the CPA's website, hopefully in just a few days to get.
I was going to ask you, Greg, do you have the link to this presentation? We were going to have the PDF. We're going to put a link to it so you can actually access all this. Everything is hyperlinked. So if you want to kind of watch the video or look at the resources or sign up for a couple of weeks with Eventbrite, you were going to be able to. We're going to kind of put it in the link. But technology, it's one of those things. At times it happens.
It's a hit or miss all the time.
Right.
But what I can do.
We'll pass it back to you, Rosalinda, though.
Say that again.
I said, we'll pass it back to you.
Well, first of all, I want to say, any additional questions? Okay, I put on the chat the Eventbrite registration link and stuff. So if you want to share it on your LinkedIn account so you can share with others, that'd be great. If you can all do me a huge favor, and I should have did this in the beginning, so I apologize. Can you put in your chat your name and then just out of curiosity, what part of California you're in or what company? It'd be great to see where everybody's coming from today and meeting up with one another. Also, the other thing we want to ask is if you can put in the chat box any type of workshop theme that you're interested in seeing in the future, put it in there because we do take that into consideration, and then we can find some speakers, some experts in that area so that we can post them in for our January and February upcoming webinars. So please, anything that you think might be of use, topics, absolutely. And if you want to present at a webinar because you are absolutely a professional expert in the field and a topic that you want to share, reach out to us, let us know. So on behalf of the California Placement Association with our Connecting Tomorrow's Leaders monthly webinars, we want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for the great questions. We hope this has been of benefit to all of you. And then please let us know how we do and let us know of any future topics that you want. And then we hope to see you in about 2 weeks.
Hi, my name is Luis Sobrevilla, and I work with the Merced County Office of Education, and I'm a proud member of California Placement Association.
Hi, my name is Greg Friedman. I work with Merced County Office of Education. I'm a proud member of the CPA Northern Region.
Hi, my name is Denise Crawford, and I work at Bakersfield College, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association Central Region.
Hi, I'm Rosalinda Rivas, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association.